Yo, what is going on, you bowl cut heaven bear ticks? Today, we're getting into another deck profile. Before we do, just want to give a quick shout out to my sponsor, Dead Draw Gaming, of course, team I'm a part of. Go check them out, deaddrawgaming.com. Get yourselves those new singles from Unified Minds as well as codes for PTCGO. Use code Azul for 5% off. Yeah, you guys need cards or codes, go to deaddrawgaming.com. All right, today we're going to be playing, not playing games, we're going to be showing off deck profile for Spiritomb Umbreon. You guys are going to have to bear with me a bit here with some of the proxies I got going on in this one. A little bit short on some of the cards that I need. Don't worry, they're on their way. But yeah, I don't have them in time for this video. But I did want to get this one out here with the Spiritomb Umbreon. It's definitely one of my favorite decks to be messing around with recently, and this is the current list I have going for it right now. So let's go ahead and get into it. So first up, for Spiritomb, hide that guy, pretend he's not there. For Spiritomb, the main attacker in the deck, build up the damage with the building spite, then we can Anguish Cry for a maximum of 160 without a hustle belt, and then we can get up to 220 with the hustle belts, and we do play 4 of those. We'll get into that in a little bit. So yeah, that's our main big swing attacker. So yeah, he's the big boy, swinging hard, can one-shot a lot of stuff. Especially because we do play a heavy count of shrines to kind of clean up the extra damage we might need to. Got a 3/3 Umbreon. Once again, bear with me on the proxies a little bit here, guys. And those aren't Weaviles. 3 Umbreon and 3 EV. This is not the correct EV. We unfortunately don't have the Energy Evolution EV anymore for this deck. We have to play the one that does like 20 damage for 1 energy. It's kind of irrelevant. It's just like the only EV I think we have access to right now. But yeah, don't have the Energy Evolution EV anymore. It's just like a basic EV, 60 HP, I believe, maybe 50, and then 1 energy does like 20 damage or something. But yeah, the Umbreon in there for we're not one-shotting something, but we don't want to attack with the Spiritomb, but still want to attack. That's kind of what the Umbreon's there for. Also, if we play against any one-prizer matchups, I don't think there's a whole ton of those going around right now. We can trade back and forth with the Umbreon and those. Yeah, not a whole ton of one-prizer matchups going on, but if you run into them, Umbreon's there for that. Also, when we just want to attack but don't want to use the Spiritomb because it's not quite one-shotting, attack with the Umbreon. So 3/3 Umbreon line. Next, we have 4 Jirachi. So we're trying to maximize turn 1. We're trying to maximize the chances to see a Professor Elms. So Jirachi helps with that opening of Jirachi and then finding the Elms itself or a Pokegear, something like that. That's what Jirachi is good for. Also, just kind of consistency throughout the game. Also, our only Pokemon search card in this deck is Communication, so we're maximizing for Jirachi, increase our chances to start with it, and then we have extra Pokemon to be Communication away later on. Keep the deck as consistent as possible. We got 1 Mew in here. He helps against Pikarom, so we don't run out of Spiritombs. But he's also here because when we hit something really hard with Spiritomb and maybe they take a couple ticks of Shrine against like a Reshizard or a Raichu, but they make their way to the bench, we don't play Custom Catcher in here, but we can maybe finish them off with the Psy Power. So that's what I found him to be pretty useful for as well. He can kind of like, it's basically like you're two-shotting it, but you're eventually cleaning it up off the bench if the Shrine doesn't knock it out eventually for you. So he's in there, pretty cool guy. The job done. This Viper is the Jinx from the new set. It's the proxy I have in here for that. It's the Jinx from the new set. The Jinx from the new set. The ability allows you to move 1 damage counter from one of your Pokemon to another of your Pokemon, which is super nice in getting Spiritombs charged up faster to that hard, heavy hitting number. Because you can have like 3 Spiritombs in play off an Elm. You do all their damage things. You move 1 damage over to from one of the Spiritombs to another, and all of a sudden he's starting to get to that 220 point way sooner. So yeah, super good for that. The Jinx is super good. I'm definitely debating adding a second one. But yeah, currently at just the 1 Jinx for right now, which is a Swiper. Next up, got the supporters for Professor Elms. So our early game really is, we want an Elms turn 1. We want to find the Spiritombs, get them in play, start building that spite. Usually play down 1 or 2 Elms a game, because later in the game you're going to want to find your EVs or more Spiritombs, or that last Spiritomb. You usually search for 3 Spiritomb with the Elms, unless you're set up to use an Umbreon play out of hand. Yeah, 4 Elms in the deck, because we gotta get the Spiritombs, man. It's the only way to find Spiritomb in post-rotation Worlds format. We don't have any other real way to do it besides the Pokecoms, which I do play as well. But yeah, gotta find them fast, early, aggressively. Boom, Elms. It's the only way to really do it consistently. So we got the 4 Elms in there. Next up, 4 Cynthia. So I've been kind of like trying to make a point to have like 4 good draw supporter, or 8 good not draw supporters, 8 good turn 1 supporters in the new standard meta. So we got the 4 Elm, 4 Cynthia. That's it. Those are our turn 1 8 draw supporters. We also do play 4 Pokegear, so it's a little bit easier for us to find them Then typical like other decks, like the Pikarom list I showed off, I had the 4 Elm, 4 Cynthia, no Pokegear, but that was still pretty reasonable. Next up, 1 Nanu. I'm not sure if this is actually worth playing or not, but it does help us get an extra Spiritomb potentially later in the game. Maybe we should even go up to 2 of them. Yeah, once the Spiritomb gets knocked out, we can play the Nanu. Get the Spiritomb out of the discard pile, get rid of a Jirachi or something, something like that. Something easy, not very difficult to get rid of. Yeah, do the Nanu, get the card. Another thing we can do is we can, once we have like, if all of our Spiritombs get fully loaded with damage, we can start jinxing the damage off, even onto the Jinx or onto a Jirachi or something, and then can Nanu. Let's say if we jinx the damage from a Spiritomb that's already has like 5 on it, move it off. You can rebuilding Spite, and you put on a Jirachi later in the game. You can Nanu the Jirachi into a Spiritomb, and then it already has damage on it, ready to go, ready to hit harder. So that's like a super cool combo you can pull off with the Nanu plus Jinx. Next up, I know they're Malos, but they are proxies here for Erica's Hospitality. 3 Ericas here, some more draw support. Now I know a lot of you have probably heard how much I hate Ericas. Generally, though, the reason I hate it is because people are playing it with, 4 Lily, and then they're like, 2 Ericas, 2 Cynthia. Just max out the Cynthias first. We've maxed out, like I said, we want those 8 decent or good turn 1 supporters to win. And we got the 4 Elm, 4 Cynthia. Those are the 8 turn 1 supporters. Just good to have on turn 1. And then past that, there's no real other good draw supporters. We could play something like Lily, place it, because we got the 8 already, the 8 good turn 1 supporters. We don't want more turn 1 supporters. We want to play an Elm turn 1. We don't want to play a Lily turn 1. So that's when Erica gets pretty good, actually. We already have a ton of support for our first turn. And then turns past that, we want to get a little bit greedier with the draw support. And Erica's is definitely a little bit better than Cynthia turn to turn. It's just like for the first couple early turns, it can just be worse because our opponent can just not fill their bench. And if your opponent figures out you just play Erica's or a heavy line of Erica's, they can also just limit their bench and make it harder for you to get cards. So we still have the 4 Cynthia in there, but the Erica's on top, I think, adds a great option. I know they're Malos, but they're Ericas. Next up, we got 4 Pokegear. Already mentioned these a couple times, but here they are finally. Want to find that turn 1 Elms ASAP. That's all we want is turn 1 Elms, and then from there, they help us find our Cynthias or Ericas, whatever. Maybe get to that Nanu, that extra Spiritomb. But yeah, keep the deck consistent for Pokegear 3.0. Next up, to a skateboard, play Jirachi. Want to move him, got to a skateboard, right? Nothing super special there. Just want to move our Jirachi. 3 switch, same thing. Want to move our Jirachi, maybe get a couple extra Jirachi uses throughout the game. We find the skateboard, then we start switching between the Jirachis, yada yada. Boom, switch. Super good for that, obviously. That's what they're there for. Next up, 4 Shrine of Punishment. Now, the reason I like the 4, the heavy count of Shrine, is because Spiritomb with the Hustle Belt hits for 220. That doesn't one-shot a Pikarom. That doesn't one-shot Raichu. That doesn't one-shot Rechizard. So they need to get knocked out somehow. So if we can get those Shrines in play early and often, we can make up that little bit of damage that we don't quite get, right? Like, we can hit Raichu for 240 or 220. We're still 40 damage off, right? So we need to make up for that with the Shrine. Or a Mew at some point. If it makes its way to the bench, maybe it's gotten like 2 Shrine ticks, it's sitting at 240. You go ahead and ping it twice with Mew, boom, dead. So yeah, Shrines early and often, making up that little bit of extra damage where Spiritomb doesn't quite get the one-shot. We don't play any gust effects, so we can't bring anything back up. Mew kind of makes up for the lack of gust effects in this deck. Between Shrine and Mew, you try and like get the extra damage on whatever makes its way to the bench to pick it off and knock it out. So 4 Shrine of Punishment there. Altar of the Moon is a black market. Just pretend with me, guys. Come on, we can get through this together. It's a black market. Super good in this deck. Especially when you play such a heavy Shrine count, your opponent does not want Shrine in play. If they're playing a GX deck, they're going to try and bump your Shrine constantly. You eventually find your black market, throw that in play, and you can sometimes just win the game when you put down the black market, because they sometimes just don't have a way to bump it after having to deal with all your Shrines, and then it sticks in play for a couple turns. They just don't draw prizes for like 2 turns. They can potentially run you out of attackers still, so that's a little iffy. So I've been thinking about maybe adding a Brock's Grit over the Nanu, but I feel like the Nanu might also just be enough in itself. So Black Market, super good card. Definitely wouldn't not play it in this deck. 4 Hustle Belt. We want to get our Spiritomb hitting those big numbers ASAP and consistently. So we got the 4 Belt in here. We just got to find them, put them on the Spiritomb, get them ready to go. That's all I gotta say about the Hustle Belts. They're great. They get the Spiritomb up to those huge numbers, swinging hard, hitting fast, knocking everything out. except for some of the really big guys. But that's why we got the heavy shrine count, heavy Mew count, or not the heavy Mew count, heavy shrine count with the Mew. Clean up those numbers. Boom, 4 Hustle Belt. 4 Pokemon Communication, I mentioned this earlier in the video. Well, it's the only way for us to find Pokemon in our deck besides the Elms. We don't even play a ton of Pokemon to begin with, only 16. But you know, we'll draw into the extra Jirachis and stuff eventually. Be able to put them back in the deck with the communication and move on from there. So yeah, 4 communication, need to be able to find some Pokemon somehow. So we have those in there for that. And then to close it off, we got 6 10 energy, 4 rainbow energy to get the extra damage potentially for the Spiritombs, make them hit a little bit harder, a little bit faster, and then 6 dark energy. You know, still gotta attack. Gotta do more than 4 attacks, so we got the 6 dark energy in there for that. Attack with the Umbreon, attack with the Spiritomb, so on. And yeah, that's about it. That's the list. Let me know if you guys have tested with Spiritomb at all yourselves. I think it's probably the best 1 prize attacking deck, maybe besides like the Malamar Giratina build, of course. But besides that, this I think is maybe the best way to play a 1 prize deck. I haven't messed around with Zap Beast yet. I don't know if Zap Beast really lives through rotation. Without Guzma, it seems a little bit tough, but it seems definitely doable. Have to try that out as well. But yeah, that's gonna do it for Spiritomb Umbreon, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like. If you're enjoying the content, be sure to subscribe. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you have tried out Spiritomb, what's different about your list? Am I missing? Do you guys think I'm missing any key cards? Let me know. As always, be sure to check out deaddraggaming.com for all your Pokemon card and code needs. And that's it. And have a good day. Thanks for watching, and peace.